So this is all the triple biology questions on the kidney that you could potentially be asked. So what is the name of the network of capillaries labelled X? Okay, that would be known as the Bowman's capsule or the capillary network. Okay, some of these questions come from A-level past papers, so that's why they might be a little bit harder than you may think. Okay. Apart from water and glucose, name two substances which will be present in the filtrate. You should see urea and salt. Name the process that's used to separate these molecules from the blood plasma, ultrafiltration. The filtration rate is lower, is the total volume of filtrate formed per minute. Explain the effect of a large loss of blood from the body, lower filtration rate because there's less blood to filter. Then these are the questions that are not things that you have to know yet. As part of the nephron, which provides the osmotic gradient, that's the tubules and the blood, okay? This is looking at how dialysis works. So what happens is blood is taken from a vein. Dialysis fluid has the same concentration of ions and glucose, lower salt and urea. So salt moves across the concentration gradient. Depending on how much glucose you've got in your blood, some of it might move across, but normally the glucose stays in your blood. So what you're trying to make is a fluid, which has got all the waste products in it. Suggest what would happen if the glucose concentration of dialysis fluid was lower. The glucose would move from the blood to the dialysis waste substance. One advantage of providing pupils with kidney transplants compared to providing them with kidney dialysis, don't have to do weekly dialysis. There's a larger expense to the hospital. 2 problems associated with kidney transplants: rejection, lifelong on immunosuppressants, and a shortage of donors. Explain how antidiuretic hormone helps regulate the kidney help the kidney regulate the water content of the blood. So the brain monitors water content. All your blood is passing through your brain, so any water in your blood will be monitored by your brain. If there's too much water in your blood, you will release not very much ADH. If there's too little water in your blood, your brain will signal and release more ADH. Okay, more ADH means the kidney tubules absorb the water back into the blood, and it passes back into the blood and leads to concentrated urine. Less ADH means the kidney tubules don't absorb as too much water as they pass back into the blood and dilute urine. Identify the stimulus that causes X to release ADHD, a lack of water. Describe an increase of ADHD production on the kidney and the composition of urine. So ADH moves to the kidney. ADH signals to stop the permeability of water, so less water is reabsorbed by the blood. So more water goes into the blood, less in the urine, so urine becomes more concentrated. Little diagram here. Things to remember, okay, ER before RA. Urine is the fluid that makes the kidney. Urethra is the one that carries the waste of the bladder, and then urethra is what carries it out of your body. What is this called? Excretion. Kidney failure can be treated by transplant. State what can be done. Before the transplant, you could blood type, make sure you've got the same blood, potentially pick a relative. After the transplant, you want to use don't know why I've written that. Immunosuppressants. Okay, what is the name of this machine? Dialysis. Give one advantage of this type of treatment. Hooked up to a machine, disadvantage, regular hospital visits. You have to have a special diet as well. That's another problem with it. Label A, B and C. Okay, so B is your descending tubule, C is your ascending tubule, A is your collecting duct. Okay, on the next page then I'll ask you to label certain parts. Okay, so this is where ultrafiltration takes place, and this is where selective reabsorption. Okay, then it says, and this is from the previous page, so I'll go back and kind of explain. Takes place. Okay, X and Y then. X is the artery, Y is the vein. Describe how a hormone affects it. So ADH signals to the kidneys when you're dehydrated. Decreased permeability, so that means that they will not keep the water in the kidneys, they'll give it back to the blood, so your urine will become more concentrated. Name the process that removes kidneys waste products from the kidney excretion. Then it asks you to plot like a little graph. Okay, the thing with this is to make sure you've got them in the right order. So you were looking at success rate. Okay, it asks you first to work out how many years it'd been up to 2014, how many years it's been going, and then to plot the success rate. So there were two different things going on, from most to least successful. Use the information from the table in a bar chart to suggest one reason why success rates of various transplant operations are different. Some have been trialled for longer, some have been used for longer. You can look at the years used. From your own notes, explain why kidney transplant is more likely to be successful when a donor is a family member, less chance of rejection because it's similar tissue type, similar blood type, so you're less likely to reject. What is meant by the term excretion? Removal of waste from the body. Then you had to do a percentage. So it was 170 over 500, and that would give you 68%. State what happens to salts in the blood by the kidneys. They're placed in the urine and removed. Space flight, the concentration of urine would increase as the mean water decreases. There's less water in the urine, so urine is more concentrated. Suggest why astronauts are given drinks containing high salts when they return to Earth to replace any salts lost when they're in space. Another kind of labelling then of the kidneys. Okay, A is obviously the kidneys. B then, ER, D, RA. Okay, be really careful of that. B is to transport waste from the kidneys to be stored in the bladder. D is then to make sure it gets carried out, and the bladder is where you store your urine while you're waiting. Name two waste products: urea, salt. You could have put water. State how the concentration of urine changes when there's too little water in the blood. It becomes more concentrated.